Okay, this lesson set of notes is going to be out of Chapter 1, Section 1 of your guys' textbook. Of course, if you're following along with the notes on Moodle, you should have them in front of you. If you don't have the notes off of my Moodle page, this is out of your textbook, like I said, Chapter 1, Section 1. And what we're going to be doing in this section is we're going to be looking at expressions and formulas. So this is going to be solving expressions using the order of operations. We'll review all of that. And then, of course, when it comes to formulas, this is going to be something that just contains symbols. You'll be given a few pieces, generally in like a word problem. You'll plug those values into the variables, into the formula, so that you can solve the formula for an unknown. Before we jump into all of that stuff, though, I'd like you to know what your objectives are for this lesson, your learning targets, and I have those for you up here as well. Let me grab my pad so I can highlight them for you. Okay, here we go. The first one, what you should be able to do by the time we get to the end of this video lesson is you should be able to use the order of operations to evaluate expressions. And like I said, we will review the order of operations with you and then how you use that to evaluate expressions. So your first learning target should be able to use the order of operations by the time we get to the end of this lesson. The second one is going to be then using formulas and of course being able to pull information out of a word problem, plug it into whatever the formula is that you're given, and solve for your unknown. Now, before we jump into our objectives for this lesson, there are a few things I want to review with you from Algebra 1, some terms and definitions. Hopefully will make life a little bit easier for you as we go through this course. So I have those listed here as we go through this. The first one, of course, is a variable. This is why we study algebra. What we're going to do is you will be solving for some unknown. Most of the time, we like to use the letter X. It doesn't have to be an X. We use Y's, T's, S, W, right? It can be any letter. And even better than that, sometimes when you get into other sciences like physics, chemistry, we like to use Greek letters to represent the unknown. Again, it doesn't matter what the symbol is. It's just simply meant to represent an unknown. And most of the time in Algebra 1, and now again in this class, you're going to be solving for that unknown. Next in the notes we have this idea of a term, and I've given you a few examples of what a term is. Should be familiar with this already, again from Algebra 1, just reviewing this with you. So I've given you some examples, a couple of things to keep in mind about terms. First of all, a number by itself without a variable is still a term, just like a variable by itself without a number is still a term. All right, doesn't have to have both a number and a variable. It could be just a number, could be just a variable. Of course, it can have powers in it, multiplication and division, no addition and subtraction. All right, if you have addition and subtraction, you're going to have more than one term. Addition and subtraction will separate terms. So you can only have multiplication like we have here and here and here, or division like we have here with the 2p. One other thing to note here when it comes to terms is going to be the coefficient. This is the number associated. I apologize, that moved on me. This is the number associated with any given term. Let's go through and highlight these real quick. It should be the number in front. It doesn't have to be in front. The convention is generally to write it in front. That's where we typically like to put our coefficients. It doesn't have to be, but most of the time that's where it will be. So if we run through these real quick, of course we have, actually here we'll highlight them. It looks like I have a 9, that's going to be my coefficient. A 15 in the 15y squared would be my coefficient. I don't have a variable, that's okay. The -3 is all that's there, but it is still the coefficient in that term. 8 coefficient. K, this one, actually let me rewrite this one for you because it doesn't look like it, but it does have a coefficient. So let me rewrite that one for us here. The example is when you have just the variable K. What is the coefficient? Well, please remember that anytime you have just a variable, there is always an implied 1 always an implied 1 in front of that variable. That will be your coefficient. So even if it's, it doesn't look like there's a number out front, there actually is. There's a 1 that we just haven't written. But you still need to know that that 1 is there. And then of course we have in this last one, the number associated with this term is going to be a 2. Okay, take some time here, review these, make sure that you're comfortable with these terms and definitions. And again, this is just a quick review from Algebra 1 of some basic stuff, the vocabulary that we'll be using this year in this class. All right. If you want, the next video will lead us to the next page in the notes, and so I will see you on that page.